I'm sure you already know Call of Duty Mobile or the current hit Delta Force Mobile, and they really are great games, but FPS on Android isn't just about famous titles. There are tons of lesser known games out there that are actually really good, and in this video I'm going to show you 15 unknown FPS games for Android. So if you want to discover all of them, drop a like and come with me. Let's start with one that isn't actually an FPS but a third-person shooter, the famous TPS, and it has a very different kind of gameplay. It's called Total Assault. You face a global crisis where zombies, mutants and monsters have taken over the world. On top of that, what's left of the human military force has been sent to clean up the streets, attacking both the undead and the remaining survivors. You need to pick up your weapons, recruit fighters from the surviving civilians and lead a squad to fight against hordes of undead and hostile military units. Throughout the journey, you rescue and recruit other survivors who join your squad and add extra firepower to the game has a very mixed difficulty level, since technically you're not playing alone and the NPCs help you a lot. The missions are easy to understand, and while Total Assault isn't the best shooter in the world, it's definitely a lot of fun. This is one of those offline Russian FPS games set inside Russia. These games are very unknown but also really interesting. Let's talk about the Sun Origin Key of Heaven. The story takes place in a dystopian future after the year 2050, where the sun unleashed a catastrophic wave of energy that hit the earth. This devastating wave covered the atmosphere with deadly radioactive fog. What remains are zombies and only a few survivors, and of course your character is right in the middle of all this. The world is controlled by warlords and you'll have to choose your path, join the Order or another faction that is theoretically very similar. Besides the FPS combat, the game also has strong survival elements, mainly because of its story. You must manage your character's basic needs such as hunger, thirst, poisoning and radiation exposure. There are also other enemies besides zombies, including bandits, raiders and mutants, all with advanced artificial intelligence. There are two very interesting reasons for you to play this game. I'll explain them properly, but this is easily the most different game on our list. Let's talk about SNOWBREAK. The story takes place in the year 2057 in a world devastated by a mysterious event that brought a strange kind of snow and left entire cities in ruins. These affected cities are now called containment zones, areas dominated by giant and hostile beings known as Titans. The characters you control are called adjustants, created specifically to fight the Titan threats and reclaim the cities. You lead a team of 3 operatives and can switch between them in real time to use their unique abilities. In this game, your main abilities are just as important and powerful as your weapons. However, the other thing this game really stands out for is its heavy fan service. Yes, all of your characters wear bikinis and have interactions that are far beyond what you normally see in FPS games. I was sure this game was called STRYKER Anomaly Zone, but now I've seen that it also goes by another name, Chernofyr Evil of Pripyat. The game takes place in the dangerous and abandoned lands of the Chernobyl exclusion zone and in the ghost city of Pripyat. You play as Stryker, a character assigned to a secret mission inside the zone. However, everything goes wrong when your helicopter is shot down, leaving you completely alone in this war-torn area. Now you must face multiple zombies as well as bandits and the intense radiation of the place. You have to constantly fight for your life, searching for weapons and resources while managing environmental threats like radiation and deadly anomalies. You can switch between a traditional FPS view or a third-person perspective. In short, it's an intense shooting and survival experience, heavily inspired by the Stalker style, with a strong focus on exploring a hostile environment. Let's talk about this super simple online FPS that I'm sure you've played before, you just might not know its name. This is Special Forces Group 3. It's known for being a fast competitive PvP shooter, player versus player, with heavy inspiration from classic tactical shooters like Counter-Strike. The game revolves around the endless conflict between two main factions, counter-terrorists and terrorists. It features over 40 maps, many of which are enhanced and redesigned versions of classic SFG2 arenas. Honestly, this game reminded me a lot of Counter-Strike 1.6. The gameplay is quick and dynamic, and it doesn't try to be realistic, and that's actually its main strength. The biggest difference comes from its game modes, like Zombie Mode or Arms Race, which help change up the gameplay and keep things fresh. A super simple game to play in your free time with no heavy story, just a classic FPS focused on killing monsters. Let's talk about Same Room, Same Day. You dive into the mind of Rosalind, a woman going through psychological torment caused by past trauma. As a kind of psychotherapist or a manifestation of Rosalind's own will, you must help her find peace by facing her inner demons and the fears trapping her mind. That said, the game is essentially a roguelike with many different types of monsters to defeat inside the girl's mind. You use an arsenal of weapons like an AK, a revolver, and a shotgun to fight the physical manifestations of Rosalind's fears. With each stage you complete, the monsters become uglier, stranger, and also much harder to take down. I think this game is simply brilliant. It's genuinely very good, completely unknown, and perfect to play with friends. Let's talk about Recurrence. You play as the SWAT officer tasked with handling high-risk situations that require tactical intervention, such as hostage rescues or neutralizing threats in confined environments. Even when playing solo, you can give commands to your AI-controlled teammates. However, the game really shines in co-op, where playing with a friend makes the experience far more tactical and intense. The game includes tactical interactions like using a mirror tool to check what's on the other side of a door before opening it, as well as the option to arrest criminals instead of killing them. In short, Recurrence co-op is the ideal choice for Android players looking for a shooter that demands more than just fast reflexes. It's hard to even say the name of this game, it's really interesting, but whoever came up with this name might deserve a slap. Let's talk about Record. The biggest highlight of REC-ORD is its attempt to deliver ultra-realistic graphics on mobile. Like many Android games, it's clearly inspired by another title that tries to do the same thing called On Record. Because of its graphical ambition, the game may require a high-performance mobile device to run smoothly, especially with all visual settings enabled. The game still feels unfinished. There are only a few maps to play and also a limited number of enemies. Even so, it manages to innovate by bringing a true mix of realistic visuals and realistic gameplay to mobile. In short, rec.o.r.d is an Android shooter worth checking out if you're looking for an FPS experience with impressively realistic graphics on your phone. This is a new game and it's much more of a survival experience than a traditional FPS, but I decided to include it on the list anyway. Let's talk about Outbreak Dead City. You are one of the last survivors in a metropolis that has been completely overrun by an outbreak of infected enemies, zombies, and mutants. The focus isn't just on shooting, but on managing your resources. Every bullet, healing item, and supply matters, making survival a constant challenge. You take part in extraction missions with other players, while also exploring the game world in search of supplies and new weapons for your character. A major highlight is that the game can be played offline, allowing players to dive into the survival experience anytime and anywhere. In short, Outbreak Dead City is a high adrenaline zombie shooter that's challenging and demands excellent resource management. This might be one of the most well-known FPS games on Android, one of those category B shooters on the platform. Let's talk about Modern Strike Online. The game is often compared to classics like Counter-Strike, CSGO, and Call of Duty COD because of its tactical gameplay, arena-style maps, and strong focus on team-based modes. It features modern, detailed graphics optimized to run well even on more modest devices. There are 4 different game modes ranging from the most common ones like Team Deathmatch to fully custom matches. The game offers over 50 different weapons including pistols, sniper rifles like the AWP, submachine guns, shotguns, and much more. And honestly, it's a very common FPS on Android, but that doesn't mean it's bad. On the contrary, it's so simple that it ends up being highly addictive. I love this style of shooter or TPS, especially when it's co-op and features characters with special powers. Let's talk about MERX multiplayer PvP. The game is easily compared to a TPS like I mentioned, but it also offers a first-person view option if you prefer. It features 4 versus 4 matches set in a futuristic cyberpunk style arena. The core of MERX is its use of heroes with specific roles and abilities. The game includes characters with different weapons as well as distinct classes. There are tank-style characters, healers, and other roles designed to make matches more dynamic and interesting. Main mode usually involves 2 teams of 4 or 5 players fighting to control the central area of the map. In short, MERX multiplayer PPV shooter is a competitive game focused on squad-based action where smart character choices and team coordination are just as important as your aim. It's a bit hard to talk about this game because it feels like an old title that was remastered, or even a game originally made for another platform. Let's talk about Medal of Valor Redux. The game is set during World War II, focusing on the Allied invasion of German-occupied France, specifically the Normandy landings on June 6, 1944. The action is centered on the famous and bloody Omaha Beach, where Allied forces face brutal German resistance. You play as multiple Allied soldiers who land on the heavily contested Omaha Beach, experiencing the chaos and intensity of the battle firsthand. From what I've researched, it really is an older game with a light remaster. You can clearly notice this just by looking at the graphics. Even so, it's fully offline and offers a very interesting campaign for players who enjoy offline FPS games. Well, this game is a classic old school Android shooter, and it uses a mechanic that's almost obsolete nowadays. Let's talk about local warfare. The main difference of this series is that it was built with a strong focus on local multiplayer LAN, although it also offers offline modes. What really defines the game is this feature. LWRP is not a standard online game that connects to global servers, at least not in its original version. Instead, players host their own room on a local network LAN, like a shared Wi-Fi network or hotspot, allowing friends to join and play together. It supports a large number of players, with up to 32 players in a single LAN room, which is impressive for a mobile game. Another detail worth mentioning is that the game includes bots for solo play and of course multiple different game modes. It's a great option for lower end phones and for playing co-op with friends. If there's an old school Counter-Strike style game for Android, this is definitely it. Let's talk about Contra Survival Zombie. The game is openly marketed as a way to experience Counter-Strike 1.6 on mobile. This is reflected in its classic visuals, skill-based gameplay, and familiar game. The graphics are optimized but keep a nostalgic style, reminding players of old-school tactical FPS games. One crucial detail is that the game does not have auto-aim or auto-shoot, forcing players to rely purely on their aim and reflexes. Contra is well known for its variety of online game modes, supporting up to 16 players in 8 versus 8 matches. These modes range from zombie survival to classic scenarios like terrorists versus counter-terrorists. In short, Contra Survival Zombie is a fast-paced, nostalgic FPS that brings classic Counter-Strike style tactical gameplay to Android, while still offering its own unique twists. I've played this game for a long time and it's almost genius, and surprisingly it doesn't have that many players. Let's talk about FRAG Pro Shooter. One of the parts I like the most is that matches are short, usually around 5 minutes, making them fast-paced and packed with action. The main objective isn't just getting kills, but destroying the enemy's bases. The team that scores more points or destroys the central base first wins. Unlike most shooters, you don't play as just one character. Instead, you choose a team of 5 heroes and you can switch between them at any time. If you get eliminated, you can instantly respawn as another hero in a different location. This allows you to change characters depending on the situation, using the hero with the best weapon or ability for that moment. The game features around 60 characters, each with unique powers and distinct playstyles. Those were 15 unknown FPS games for Android. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and comment which game caught your attention. See you next time.